Well, hey there. It's Wedding Wednesday and welcome to Unmistakably You. I'm Amy and I go live every Wednesday at this time to talk to you about some issues that you may be facing in your wedding planning, how to solve them, some ideas of things that you might want to incorporate or not incorporate in your wedding. And as always, I am happy to chat. So if you have questions or if there's something you'd like us to talk about, feel free to reach out either here in the comments or you can shoot me an email at amy@unmistakably.you.com. Tonight, I have decor on the brain, specifically DIY decor. And that's something that I see a lot with the couples that we deal with. Everybody likes to put their personal stamp on their wedding, which I think is awesome. It's one of the reasons why I love my job, because everybody brings in elements of their own personalities to really make their wedding their own. But there are definitely some pitfalls that you can get trapped in if you are DIYing any or all of your decor. And a lot of those pitfalls have to do with just the sheer amount of inspiration that is out there, which is great, but which also can be daunting and can result in a wedding that maybe looks a little bit more like a kindergarten craft than the cohesive, beautiful day that you were imagining. So there are a million different platforms you could go to. There's all kinds of beautiful stuff out there on Instagram and TikTok and all of the places. I just wanted to briefly touch tonight on three of the places where you might be active if you are planning your wedding. And those are Pinterest, Facebook, and then Facebook Marketplace. And you can, of course, extrapolate from here. And I'm also talking about all of the other places where all of the pretty lives. But I just wanted to give you a couple of tips and strategies so that if you are starting to think about how you're going to decorate your wedding, if you're pulling together the aesthetics, there are a couple of things to be mindful of if you are DIYing portions of the day. So first and foremost, I want to encourage you that if you are starting to pull together a decor theme, you want to start with a unified theme or a very well articulated theme and a color scheme. Now, you don't have to completely have everything planned out right from the get-go. That's why you have a length of time, maybe a year, to plan your wedding. Things will probably morph and change, and you'll refine things a little bit as you go. But I do encourage you to at least have some idea of where you're going to end up, because otherwise you run the risk of just starting to cast such a wide net that nothing is cohesive and nothing feels like it works together. So when I say theme, it doesn't have to be super themey. It's not like every element of your wedding has to have something to do with Star Wars, for instance. I even consider a theme to be something like a couple of adjectives, maybe romantic and soft, or maybe modern and edgy. Or your theme could be an event or a holiday or a place. You could have a night in Paris theme. So it doesn't have to be crazy and what you would consider to be a really kind of sort of kitschy theme, but some unifying words, and then hopefully one or two colors that are going to flow through the wedding and that are going to also make everything look really intentional and well pulled together. So that's where I would start, even really before going out and searching for too much inspiration, because that theme should be something that resonates with you and your partner, not something that you see on Pinterest and want to replicate. So let's talk about Pinterest for a second. Pinterest is wonderful. It's also a heck of a rabbit hole once you start looking into things and start getting inspiration and pinning things to boards. There are basically three issues that I see where wedding-related Pinterest inspiration comes in, and those are affordability, feasibility, and liability. And here's what I mean. When you're looking at some of those beautiful inspiration photos from weddings on Pinterest, you're not actually looking at a wedding. What you may be looking at is a styled shoot. And what that is an inspirational photo op that a bunch of wedding pros will pull together to perhaps pad a section of their portfolio. Maybe they want to feature more of a certain kind of wedding and they just don't have those pictures from real weddings that they've done. Or maybe they have a really creative idea or a thought scheme that they want to pull together and they haven't had the opportunity to do it on a real wedding. So they make a fake one. So it might be a planner and a florist and a decorator and a baker and a makeup artist and some models. But what they're often doing is not creating an entire wedding. They're not decorating 20 tables. They're decorating one table and then they're creatively photographing it so that it appears like it's a real wedding. And what that does is it allows them to really splash out on that one table that they're decorating. They may spend hundreds of dollars on one single centerpiece that you unfortunately wouldn't be able to replicate or financially afford if you have 15 or 20 tables. So just be cautious to know that a lot of those things can't really be replicated affordably in bulk. The second issue is feasibility. So you may see a wonderful, huge installation, let's say a big champagne wall that you want to build, but is it actually feasible that it will fit at your venue? Is it going to work with the space that you have? And who's going to set it up? So some of these ideas are beautiful and grand and would make a heck of an impact, but you have to think about whether or not it actually is feasible at your venue and with the staff that you have. And that also leads me to caution you about liability. Some of these things that you see on Pinterest are from places that have different rules than we have here in Ontario, if that's where you're watching from. They perhaps have different venues than you have access to. And so you need to be cautious when you're thinking about some of these beautiful ideas that you see, like the uncovered taper candles that have been so popular lately. They're lovely, but most venues will not allow an open flame, and that's an Ontario fire marshal regulation. That's not coming from the venue. You also want to be cautious about those self-serve champagne walls because a lot of venues won't allow guests to serve themselves champagne. So again, if you're seeing these beautiful ideas, think about the affordability, the feasibility, and the liability before you get too far down that path and realize that actually it's not going to be possible to execute for one reason or the other on your wedding day. Now, if we're talking about Facebook, I know that there are an awful lot of great groups out there. There are some regional groups, swap and sells, advice groups, places where people are more than happy to give you their opinions and share their ideas. And I just caution you that you need to be mindful of the fact that these people, a lot of them aren't professionals. They may be giving you advice that seems good at the time, but keep in mind that those are not the people who have to actually pull it all together. That's going to be you and whoever you have working with you on your wedding day. So just be cautious of some of the advice. I mean, there's lots of fantastic, wonderful ideas and opinions out there on Facebook, but do try to filter them with a grain of salt and just think about the fact that a lot of these people maybe have done their wedding and that's the extent of their wedding experience. Also be cautious of the fact that Facebook is a really great place in that it is a free platform for someone who's just starting out as a vendor in the industry. Now, everybody starts somewhere, so I am absolutely not slagging anybody who starts out by publicizing their business on Facebook, but just be mindful that you still want to vet any vendor that you find on Facebook, just like you would any other vendor that you find anywhere else. Check their references, read some reviews, see lots of examples of their work, because oftentimes the people who are popping up on Facebook as new, really affordable vendors that look really promising are actually not going to be able to deliver the quality or the caliber of work that they're presenting through this platform. And again, not to say that every new vendor is someone you want to avoid. Absolutely not at all what I'm saying, but just be cautious because I do often see a lot of those kinds of vendors on Facebook. Finally, to tackle Marketplace, again, wonderful, fantastic resource where people who've been married can sell their gently used decor. People who are getting married can get a good deal and not have to pay normal retail prices for some of these things. But again, I caution you to think about the theme, think about the color scheme, think about the feeling of the wedding before you just go buying random things because they are a good deal. I've seen a lot of couples unpacking their decor as they set up the day before the wedding, and they're like, "Oh, I forgot we had that. Oh, where are we going to put that?" So it's quite easy, especially if you have a long time to plan, it's quite easy to amass a whole lot of things that really aren't very cohesive, that don't work together, or that don't work with your theme. And that's a problem because eventually those costs do add up, even though you get a good deal on this thing here and that thing there. When you add them all together, you can find that you're spending a lot of money pretty quickly. And also, where are you going to store them? If you are deep in the weeds of planning your wedding, you probably recognize that the stuff can very quickly take over your house. So just be cautious of not overbuying things that perhaps don't work together. Also, you have to think about who's going to set that up. So again, I keep coming back to how feasible is it? You need to work with decor that is going to not cause you stress on your wedding day. So if you're working in a DIY venue, if you don't have a coordinator, just be mindful of who is going to set all these things up, who is going to tear all these things down. How are you going to make sure that your vision is being recognized when you're getting your hair and makeup done and you're being the bride, or you're being the groom? You're not on site to set things up and solve problems on the day. So do sort of run all of these DIY decor ideas or proposed ideas through the filters of your theme, your colors, your feasibility, and then just sort of be cautious as you're out there in the interwebs, finding all of the inspiration as to how realistic it really is for you and your specific wedding. Now, if you want to dive deeper into this topic, if you are really excited to pull together your own wedding design, that is fantastic. I absolutely encourage that. And in fact, we're running one of our spring workshops on creating cohesive wedding decor. So if you're interested in that, you've got a little bit of time to sign up, but don't wait too long because we do have limited spaces. It's over at unmistakablyou.com/workshop. And it's our Creating Cohesive Wedding Decor workshop. So we're going to walk you through how to create a design scheme, how to pull together those theme and colors, some design principles that you're going to want to follow, and an absolute whack load, because that's a thing, of ideas and strategies and tips. So as always, if you have questions or comments, feel free to pop them into the chat here or catch me at amy@unmistakablyou.com. I will be back next week talking about budgeting, and then we're going to hop into some exciting things. We've got our yearly wedding wine down coming up in a couple of weeks, so grab a glass of wine and you can hear us share some of our stories and secrets of things we experienced this year in the weddings that we've done. And then we are launching our holiday countdown to win throughout December. So if you have been around for a while, you will know that we give away some fantastic prizes, including a free day of coordination. So you're not going to want to miss things over the next couple of weeks as we ramp up towards the holidays. Things are getting very, very exciting over here at Unmistakably You, and we want you to join in and share in the fun. Until I see you next week, happy planning. Take care.